a friend who went to Aga Khan for 2 weeks and was paying through the nose. And they didn't even cure him. When he went to India, he spent half, including an air ticket, and he stayed for a month with his wife, and he comes back eaten. You get what I'm saying? And this was last week. It just shocked me when I looked at the figures. Then you look at education. But when people have gone to India for education, they're able to do a village around and people go to education and they study and come back. So this country has taken an issue with saying political action is what is going to drive us, and what is going to, and this is how we are going to do it. And that is the elephant in the room in this country. Political action that says where is Kenya today and where do you want Kenya to be tomorrow. Everybody is mired or is mesmerized by primitive accumulation. They want to keep on telling me my Mercedes is bigger than yours, not how I acquired it, and all those kind of things. So to me, I say that when we go back to our constitution, we'll find that it gives with one hand and it takes away with another. And I want to refer to Article 43, Sub-Article 1, Clause C. Article 43, Sub-Article 1, Clause C. Everybody goes saying you have got the right to food in our constitution. It reads, every person has the right to be free from hunger and to have adequate food of acceptable quality. Very, very noble statement. But when you go to Article 20, Clause 5, Article 20, Sub-Article 5, it says, Sub-Article 5, Clause C, it says that in applying any right under Article 43, that's where we get the right to food, if the state claims that it does not have the resources to implement the right, a court, tribunal, or other authority shall be guided by the following principles, is A, this B. The receipt says, the court, tribunal, or other authority may not interfere with a decision by a state organ concerning the allocation of available resources solely on the basis that it would have reached a different conclusion. So that one again pours water on the earlier right. So which basically then makes that right a largely passive right. And so then you want to understand, to me, when I talk about right to food, what am I looking at? To me, it's the right to feed oneself in dignity, the right to adequate food. That right is a long-standing international human right to which many countries are committed, including Kenya. And many have developed many instruments, and as you have seen, our constitution also recognizes that right. So we are aspiring for a time when every man, woman, and child in Kenya, alone or among with others, has the physical and economic access at all times to adequate food or means for its procurement. So when I continue, because I have only 15 minutes, I also want to look at what the right to food is not. Not just what the right to food is. I think we know the right to food, but what the right to food is not. And this I'm getting from what the World Food Organization states. It says that the right to food does not imply that the governments have an obligation to hand out free food to everyone who wants it. This is a common misconception. The right to food is not a right to a minimum ration of calories, proteins, or other specific nutrients, or a right to be fed. It's about being guaranteed the right to feed oneself, which requires not only that food be available, that the ratio of production to the population is sufficient, but also that it is accessible. Some of you are old enough will remember the days when we had a famine in Turkana, and in Olekalau people were pouring milk. Don't know who remembers that? Yes. We had to go and mobilize Olkalau and cause some chaos before they opened a milk collection place in Olkalau. We spent 2 days of serious demos to get that milk collected, so that but Turkanas were dying and there was milk being poured. So one of the major problems of food in Kenya is distribution. It's not production. And of course, right now, just the other day, we had farmers complaining they couldn't sell their maize. The other day, they came up and announced that the ministry wants to offset some huge quantity of strategic food reserves to millers at a very subsidized price. I challenged that thing. The minister called me. And I was asking him, if you are giving out this food at an affordable price, why are you giving it to millers at a throwaway price? You bought it at a very high price. You want to give it to millers at a throwaway price, claiming there's a famine around the corner. And yet, when you come to the distribution of the ugali eaters in this country, 70% depend on the portion meal. It's only 30% that goes for this packed food. So I was saying, why can't you have got a mechanism in every ward in this country. Why don't you make this maize available in the ward so that anybody who wants maize will go and buy and go and grind and eat it? So we fought, we haggled. Then they said as a ceasefire, because I was heading to court, they said, please don't take us to court. Let us settle on 50% to the millers and 50% to the portion mills. So they're working on that now, to have that food accessible, because once they begin looking at one side of the market, the so-called middle class, people who eat bad food, because the maize has been shelled and it has got no nutrients are lower. So once they begin looking at that one as the group they need to satisfy, the peasants don't exist, then you have got a problem. Because they are basically being subservient to market forces, not political action. So I've also looked at the 3 dimensions of food security, which is availability, accessibility, and adequacy. So, and to me, the big problem for me is accessibility that we need to look at. And things like families being able to feed themselves can also be one of the dimensions that needs to be looked at. And when I came in, the speakers before me were addressing the issue of subsidizing farmers, of putting a farmer to produce food, not to use food to achieve a livelihood. You know that's what we do? That you're going to produce your beans, come and sell on the market, then go and take your child to school. That is the wrong approach to food. Let farmers be paid to produce food. The way the Europeans are doing it, and we can do it. So that if the farmers in Europe were to be told that, okay, you are subject to market forces, now nobody will be farming in Europe. So to me, my prayer is that we look at political action. And that political action must come from the ground up. Let us not leave it to these characters who masquerade as our leaders to drive us off the cliff. Let us make some demands of them. Let us make some demands of them and say, this is what we want to see being done. So that we don't end up in a situation whereby we don't know where the rain began beating us, and we keep on blaming each other. Something came up when I came in, the question of urbanization. I'm a very, very strong advocate for urbanization. Get characters off the land, package them in cities, and provide good services in the cities. It is even cheaper, it's more economical, it's more viable, and leave the land out there for wildlife, for production of food in a modern. This thing of fellows of Mugunda and subdividing, parceling out land is destroying us, because very fertile land Get a case of Meru. Meru is a disaster. Very, very fertile land, but if you look at how people have divided it up into rubber stamp sizes, that when you stretch like this, you trespass. These are things we should go away from. And I'm a very strong advocate for urbanization and industrialization, so that factory jobs can take people off the land. And the land remains for wildlife and food production, not for subsistence. Let us go where other people are going. The only way to develop is to imitate the developed. Have efficient banks, keep time, be disciplined, do all these things, and you'll move on. And I want to just to throw in something. I forget the name of the encyclical, but in 1969, you can go and check it. Pope Paul VI issued a very, very important statement. Well, no, not humanity. Where he said, the new name of development is peace. Yes. That encyclical, we need to go and read it and look at ourselves and say that the new name of food security is development. Let us develop our people. We were never created to be poor. When you talk of the kingdom of God, how can you be living like you don't know what a kingdom is? If you are a Christian, you are wired to live in a kingdom. Okay? You are wired to live in the Garden of Eden. You see? So when God created man, he put him in the Garden of Eden. That's how man is wired. You are not wired to be a squatter, to be scavenging, no. You are wired to have more than you need. And that's where we are supposed to be going. And so to me, if the new name of development, of peace is development, even hunger is part of peace, let us look at development seriously. The knowledge is there. Everything is there. The other time I was talking to the former minister, Otuoma, and he told me, you know, the time there was this obsession with fish farming, and I was arguing that you people have got a whole Indian Ocean which you are unable to do anything. When you are allowing the Chinese to come and give them licenses to, then you want to go and begin building ponds in the villages. Let us go to the ocean and engage. So when they were talking, anyway, they done a case study and they went to Israel. After they saw that for baseline study, Israel had a very good fish farming system. And he told me that they went around, after they had gone around, the minister, his equivalent on the other side, called him aside and showed him a paper. And the system that Israel was implementing had been developed in Kenya. This Kenyan scientist sent by Jomo Kenyatta, who had told Israelis how to farm fish. And today we are going to borrow from them. The same to the beef industry in Botswana. Botswana is exporting beef to the European Union. When Botswana got independent, I think they had 6 kilometers of tarmac, and one high school or two. So among the people who helped Botswana was Jomo Kenyatta. He sent scientists to go and establish a beef industry in Botswana. We went and we built a very beautiful one. It's working very well. They are exporting directly to the European Union. We can't. Our meat commission, what is happening? Somebody said that 70% of the land mass is in the ASAL, arid and semi-arid areas. And I'm telling you with a lot of knowledge, if one Maasai man with a walking stick can raise 1,000 cattle, what can that man do if he's given modern support? What can he do? So why are we not using what we have? Yes, so we must get away from being dominated by the bad politics is called the market. We must move away from the market-driven state to a developmental state. I'm not a socialist, I'm a capitalist. But I believe in developmental capitalism. I don't believe in beggars, don't believe in hangers-on. I believe in people producing and carrying their weight around me. I don't like funny characters around me. Because we are given a command, go and sweat and eat. The guy after you failed in the Garden of Eden, you are told by your sweat that you live. No, I don't know about living by my sweat. That's why I'm a strong advocate for justice, not charity. I believe in justice, not charity. So, if a government has got taxes, it has got citizens, let the government invest in the people, let the government empower people to have their means of production, and over and above. Take a place like Kiambu. How are you going to tell somebody in Kiambu to survive on a piece of land? In Busia, where I come from, it's possible. The land sizes are big. How are you going to make somebody in Kiambu survive on land? Kiambu is virtually part of Nairobi. And why are you not having factories in Kiambu? Why are you not industrialized in Kiambu? Even if it is tribalism, okay, it's a Kikuyu in power. Why is it not industrialized in Kiambu? It's because tribalism is a false ideology. It's about primitive accumulation. It's not about empowering the people. So let us look around and look at the comparative advantages of this country, invest in the people, invest in opportunities. We have talked about minerals and what have you. We don't have titanium anymore. We sold the rock. We sold everything. Titanium, one of the strongest metals in the world. We discovered it, and the idiots we are, we told some